having both parents in my house was ironic. You know, most people that I grew up with didn't have that. You know, so we grew up in a very naive time is all I'm trying to say. And the kids of the world today have far more greater exposure to stuff. And I think that it would behoove parents to have more open dialogue, because guess what? If you're not talking to them about certain things, somebody is. Marijuana is actually legal in quite a bit of states, whether it be for medicinal purposes or recreation. California happens to be one of those states. So if she wasn't learning it at home, she'd be learning it from somewhere. Granted, she's a baby, but at the same time, he's killing the curiosity for her. She's never going to be curious about, oh, maybe I need to try marijuana because I don't know what it is. And there's a stigma, you know, there's this kind of aura surrounding it. Because a lot of times, for me at least, growing up, if there was anything that there was kind of this, there's this mysticism around it. You know, I can recall my parents not allowing me, but I definitely drank wine coolers when I was younger than 18, younger than 16 even. Definitely did, you know, and I never felt, I don't know. I feel like when I went to college, I didn't feel the same curiosity or fiendish behavior for alcohol that a lot of my cohorts may have. Even as it pertained to smoking, I never really felt a particular curiosity surrounding it, because I grew up knowing what it was. And I knew what it was to want to smoke to be high versus understanding from someone who might be Rasta the purposes and the healing power of marijuana. So I think that there is juxtaposing sides to this. I think it's very thin ice to be to criticize anyone's parenting. I think that's a thin ice to skate on. You know, I think that when it comes, and this goes to whether or not you're a parent, I think that criticizing parenting can get a little bit sketchy, but I didn't necessarily see the problem with him exposing his daughter to marijuana. I think, again, just like in T.I.'s case, what I see the problem is that you are exposing us to exposing your daughter to it. You know what I mean? Like, if you do it and you don't turn the comments off, then everybody's going to have something to say. It isn't any of our business until you make it our business. You know? So this week, when you hear T.I. talking about, oh, everybody talking shit about my daughter, he'll hit her, you know, cause, you know, whatever, that's how he talks. But when you hear him talking about that shit, like, and I mean, this even goes, cause a lot of times we like to talk about celebrity news, but celebrities, they're just like us. When you put your business out there, right? You make it grist for the mill. People can give their opinion. It's open air. You know, people can give their opinion as long as you put that shit out there. If you don't put it out there and somebody is then soliciting their opinion to you, well, that's a different story. That's a different story. But once you put it out there, I don't think the problem was that YG chooses to raise his daughter in a particular way. It's that YG chooses to expose us to him raising his daughter in a particular way. That shit ain't really none of our business. But since you made it our business, hey, that's our opinion, right? Oh, y'all, I didn't even ask you how you was doing this week. Bitch, I'm so nasty. I'm so nasty. How you that? Yes, bitch. I see you. You look thick. You working out. Oh, you cute or whatever. Shout out to my good friend Vincent Mark for including me on an upcoming project I'm really excited about. And also, you guys, if you haven't, go ahead and check out Gay Code. You can find it on YouTube. Gay Code has their own channel. And we're going to take a break, and then we are going to set the table for change. We'll be right back. We're back and we're black. You know, before we set the table, not very often do we discuss heavy political matters. I try to keep you guys informed as much as I can, because a lot of us have just become so completely disenfranchised with the news that we don't even watch it. We don't even pay attention. I think a lot of us are so hip to what's happening in our phones that we think that our news is whatever Shade Room says. But I do think that it is important, because 2020 is just around the corner, that we are keeping ourselves informed of our current political landscape. And with that said, I just wanted to take a brief moment to let you guys just inform you about the fact that, so this week, Mike Bloomberg, former New York City mayor, decided to throw his toupee into the presidential race for 2020. Now, if you are like me and you're from New York City, you definitely remember the tenure of Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Now, here's what I will say. It was a financially flourishing time for New York City. Jobs were abound. People were making money. And quite frankly, he entered into the political New York landscape at a time that we were under siege in New York from rampant crime. We had just celebrated having 650 homicides in this city. And that was record breaking for us. And needless to say, he inherited a city that needed help. Under him, the NYPD conducted what was known as Terry stops, or which you guys will commonly know as stop and frisk. Now, the whole idea behind Terry stops, as they're officially known as, is that an officer stops a passerby of any particular kind, and when they stop them, they can question them, search them without any warrant, and place them under arrest for anything even as little as not having your ID. Personal story, I can definitely recall someone that I know being harassed by the police, and I don't remember if he was arrested, but I definitely remember him being harassed by the police or whatever the case is. Someone I know, I think he was in his neighborhood. He might have been going to the store or whatever, coming back from the store. And the police decided to stop him. He didn't have ID on him, and they wanted to arrest him. Now, it's important to note that this affected mostly Black and Latino men of color. It's also important to note that stop and frisk only served to land more people of color in jail. Now, as you may or may not know, during the time of stop and frisks, arrests in this city skyrocketed. You couldn't jaywalk in this motherfucker, okay? And if you were Black, bitch, get back. And if you were brown, bitch, you was not getting down, okay? They were fucking your ass up out here. And that's just what it was. Now, I'm not someone who is, I'm not anti-police. And for a lot of people, that may come as a surprise, because I think that by and large, the message as it is explained in the media is that Black people hate the police. I hate what the history of the police is. I hate that history is still deeply entrenched in most of our local police departments. I hate that people who work in police departments don't necessarily need to live in the jurisdictions that they work. I think that causes a huge problem. I think that by and large, for me politically, I think that anybody who works in public service has to live in the community that they work in. I mean, do your math, do your homework. Most New York City cops, most metropolitan cops of any major city, by and large, don't live in the neighborhood that they serve in. Now, it's different for when you talk about surrounding suburbs and counties and stuff like that. For the most part, they don't let anybody police who is not from there. Very rare do they let, you can't go to Westchester County and just decide that you're going to be a police officer there and you not live in Westchester County. That's a rarity. I think that there is a care that goes into how you feel about people in your own community. At any rate, the number of reported police stops had dropped by 98% after 4 years of stop and frisk. In that time, homicides did decrease by 43%. Major index crimes also fell by 9%. In 2013, a federal judge had ruled that stop and frisk was unconstitutional. However, Mike Bloomberg, your new Democratic candidate for president, defended his right of stop and frisk, and still had the police department doing it, even though a federal fucking judge had ruled that it was unconstitutional. Now, I don't know about you, but we've already had 3 years of what I consider a hostile takeover. I mean, we have a president who, by and large, is not even presiding over the country under the constitutional law. I mean, from the very inception, he lost the popular vote, but still became the president. So that lets you know that, I've said for quite some time that I believe that we have evolved so much as humans that we really need to look at the political landscape of our country and decide as the democracy, because if you know anything about politics, you know that we are, regardless of the political party you fall under, the United States is a democracy. It's a political democracy. We're not a dictatorship. We are not communist. We are a democracy, right? So under the democracy, I think that looking at the Constitution, looking at our branches of government, and looking at, even as we drill down to, because that's very macro level, but as we drill down to our immediate neighborhoods, I think it's important for us to just be aware of what is happening politically. The time is moving very fast. We had about 511,000 niggas running for president, right? And right now we're down to like 511. So we getting close. And I just think that it's important for us to keep our eye on the ball. I know that we are all amazed by Omarion's unwavering strength in the face of Mona Scott Young's utter and disgusting storylines. But please keep in mind that the real world is still happening out here. And unless you are armed with the knowledge that you need, you can really be bamboozled into making a decision that works against you in 2020. 2020 is around the corner. And everybody, listen, Mike Bloomberg is not a bad person, but stop and frisk was a bad thing. Kamala Harris and all the shit that she did out there in California as district attorney, sending all them black men to jail and all this other shit. That was bad. That was bad. We got to acknowledge that shit. So I don't want y'all to sleep on what's going on. And I just wanted to share that with you guys before we set the table.